Welcome to Inspiring Perspectives, a podcast by thinkPARALLAX featuring fresh takes and bold ideas for the real-world sustainability challenges and solutions at some of the world's most respected brands and companies. I'm your host, Derek Sabori, and this is what sustainability sounds like today. All right. Welcome, everybody. I'm here today with Ali Mize, Senior Director of ESG, Belonging, and Corporate Philanthropy at Neiman Marcus Group. Hi, Ali. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you. Inspiring Perspectives. It's a relatively new show for us, and you've got so much to offer, so many great insights. We had a great conversation to kind of prep for this, and you brought up some really interesting things in addition to the great work that you're doing at Neiman Marcus Group. So I want to talk about it. One thing in my studying and prepping for the show that I don't think I realized is just how long Neiman Marcus Group has been around.
1907.
1907, 117 years ago. So you've been at this for a while.
And we were co-founded by a woman.
That I didn't catch up on. So that's cool.
Many years before she ever had the right to vote, she was starting the company.
Wow.
Social impact is in our DNA.
Yeah. And real quick before we dive in, do you get a sense, has the work that you're doing now, has that sort of always been there at Neiman Marcus Group, or is it something that's evolved over time? Tell me a little bit about that.
It's definitely an evolution, but as a family-founded company, we definitely have always championed issues like social justice and doing right by our customers and the environment. So I think that, ESG is a more recent evolution, values that have always been present for our brand.
Yeah, that's amazing. And headquarters is in Dallas, right? So are you based in Dallas as well?
I am.
So tell me a little bit about your role. So this idea of ESG, belonging, and corporate philanthropy, it's probably tough to fit on your business card. It's a lot. It's a long title, but give us a little sense of what you do. What does a day in the life of Ali look like? Some of the responsibilities. What are you tackling every day?
Sure. So I'm lucky enough to lead a team of change makers as they drive all of our environmental sustainability, DEI, and philanthropy initiatives across the enterprise at our brands Neiman Marcus, Bergdorf Goodman, and our luxury furniture brand, Horchow. And then we roll the impact from all of those initiatives up into meaningful disclosures for our board of directors and investors. So on any given day, I can be helping my team with projects related to renewable electricity, sustainable products and services from our brand partners, advancing workplace equity through the types of benefits and programs that we roll out to our associates, or point of sale fundraising with our customers and associate engagement and volunteerism. It's a very dynamic job.
Tell us a little bit about the team as well. Is it a smaller team that does all of this work? Do you guys have it kind of baked into the whole organization? How many people are working on this every day?
Yeah, so I have a team of 9, and we operate through a innovative dual reporting model. So I have 4 people on my direct team who oversee the pillars of the strategy. So a leader for environmental sustainability, a leader for belonging, and a leader for philanthropy. And then scattered throughout the business, we have leaders who sit directly within our business units or pyramids and report into that pyramid as well as to our team. And that helps ensure that there's accountability in the business, that there is budgeting happening for ESG directly within the business, but that they're also connected to a centralized hub of change makers through ESG as well.
So that connected hub, or this idea of kind of embedding it through, I want to talk about that. You've got an interesting take on that, on what it takes to do that. But I want to stop real quick, and just on the personal side for you, you've had multiple roles, kind of leading into this role here at Neiman Marcus Group. Have you always known that you wanted to work in this space, this path that you took here? Was it pretty systematic and calculated, or did you sort of fall into ESG and sustainability work?
Yeah, it hasn't always been called ESG, but I've always known that I appreciate having an impact. And so I've really tried throughout my career to learn how to speak different languages that helped me with stakeholder management. So I started my career at the U.S. Embassy in Belgium, on the policy side, managing the Fulbright program there. And I realized that I loved the impact that I was having on the students and the scholars I was facilitating that educational and cultural exchange for, but that I could probably do more with private sector dollars. And so I went back and got my Master of International Business. And that's when I really started to understand all of the other different stakeholder groups that I needed to learn to speak to if I was going to be successful at corporate impact. And so I spent some time working in investment management and learning how to speak finance. After I graduated, I went over to Yum Brands, which is the parent company for KFC, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut, and really approached ESG from an investor relations perspective. After that opportunity, I went over to the Kentucky Distillers Association and became a registered lobbyist and advocated for new privileges, less onerous regulation for an industry through the lens of corporate responsibility. And then right before Neiman Marcus Group, I was at JCPenney in their private label supply chain, working with factories across Asia and Africa on their environmental performance, protecting human rights, etc. And so just like I think it's important to speak different languages like French, Spanish, English, I always tell people that it's important to speak different languages related to your key stakeholders too. So spending that time getting experience in finance and policy and supply chain is so important for ESG practitioners today.
That is a common thread that I'm hearing in every conversation I have, for sure. This idea of being able to kind of view the work that you're doing through the lens of other roles, other departments, other people in your organization, see it from their perspective, right?
Absolutely. It's a blend of technical skills and empathy and understanding.
So with all of that said, with sort of that history and that background, what you're working on now is you're working on revolutionizing the luxury experience by advancing sustainable products and services, cultivating a culture of belonging, and leading with love in our communities. Is that fair to say? That's the framework, correct?
You got it.
I love it. What's the most exciting thing that you're working on out of all? I'm not out of all of it, but I mean, boil some things to the top for me if you can. What's really exciting that you're working on right now in those spaces?
Yeah, it's hard to pick just one thing. I think I'm really excited about how my team is contributing to the company's top line growth by growing sales from sustainable and ethical products. We're continuing to engage more and more of our top luxury brand partners in participating in what we call our Fashion for Change and Conscious Curation edits that help our customers shop in line with their values. We recently just added a new attribute to those edits for pre-owned and vintage merchandise that I'm really excited about. And we continue to expand the edits beyond just the .com environment into our stores, our mobile apps, etc. And it's really helping customers shop in line with their values when they come into a luxury store like Neiman Marcus. But like I said, it's also enhancing our business. We're currently generating over 9% of sales from products in those edits. So it's a meaningful initiative. But I think if I had to give an equal amount of time to all the pillars of our strategy, I'm also feeling really excited about what we're doing to champion more inclusive marketplaces in the luxury space by helping grow our diverse-owned brands, so Black-owned, Hispanic-owned, Asian-owned brands, by helping our marketing team win the multicultural customer, and by training our sales associates on more inclusive sales techniques. And then I would say in the philanthropy space, I'm really excited that we just launched our second cohort of scholars with the Fashion Scholarship Fund. So every year we support 10 students as they pursue careers in sustainable and ethical fashion. We give them scholarship dollars, but we also match them up with executive mentors from Neiman Marcus Group. And so I just recently matched with mine, and I'm so excited about all the projects that she's working on and just the opportunity to spend more time with her. So I think those are a few of the things I'm really excited about right now.
That's amazing. And it's obviously working. You guys just put out a recent report, sort of your fiscal year report, to give us an update. And you're doing there's some great progress on all of your goals and strategies. I mean, you've got these nice bars that kind of give us progress, and just click, click, click. You kind of keep moving in the right direction. I know kind of as we prepped for this conversation, it's sort of how are you doing that? And your idea is this idea that it's, we're able to scale these programs and the progress through partnership, And that's sort of our theme for today, scaling through partnership, what it takes to really move sustainability forward. You have great progress over there. I want to talk a little bit about what kind of progress you're seeing in the industry overall, but what do you see as sort of the key to scaling or success here? Is it, make the link for me to scaling through partnership. Why is that important to your success?
Well, it all goes back to this framework that derives from public health called the socio-ecological model. And this model basically says that it's really important to understand the interplay between individual, interpersonal, organizational, community, and societal factors, because this interplay affects human behavior and the change that we're able to create. And so if we don't think about all of these different levels in tandem, we have a more difficult time creating and sustaining change. And so it's a really important framework for my team as we go about building partnerships. I think a lot of times it is our natural tendency as ESG practitioners to go for organizational level change, right? Setting enterprise level goals, building enterprise level partnerships. But it's really important to zoom out and take a systems level approach to all these other different levels that the framework speaks to too.
Yeah, and having a framework in general, I mean, it's one thing that we're always talking about, this idea of embedding it and really, changing the organization, these change theories that we have, et cetera. But when you told me about this and I went and looked it up and I found the sort of the framework, the way it's articulated, this, like you said, intrapersonal, interpersonal, organizational, environmental, and policy and advocacy, those are all things definitely that I think I knew, but seeing it all pieced together like this, like, wow, that's actually very strategic. And we're dropping a little bit of psychology studies here on the Inspiring Perspectives show. Where did you, maybe it's naive to ask, but where did you find it? Maybe our listeners already know about it. I just didn't. So I'm interested to know where you found it and what made you start to kind of use this as your guide.
Yeah, I came across it through a friend who has a master's of public health degree. She was telling me about it. I oftentimes try to learn about my friends' fields of study and profession and what they're working on. And we were chatting about some social and environmental impact initiatives one day. And she was like, I think this framework would really actually help your team think through the different levels, I guess, of communicating and scaling the change that they're working on. And it really impacted me.
So if we can, let's talk a little bit then about how you might be using it or how you've applied it. How have you put it into practice there at Neiman Marcus Group? What are some of the things that you've done that are driving that progress that we talked about in your sustainability goals?
Absolutely. So I think if we start at the individual level and thinking about how we at Neiman Marcus Group empower all of our associates to participate in change, I think it's really important to partner with our internal communications team every week to include our initiatives in internal company newsletters, in LinkedIn posts, in the town halls that associates are sitting in, just so that at a basic level, they are aware of the change that's happening across the organization. Their attitudes toward the change are positive. They feel like they can be supportive of it, that they are bought in from the beginning of the experience and aren't finding out about an initiative after it's already rolled out. And I think we're also offering them individualized benefits that help them participate in the change. So a great example is our paid volunteer time off, our matching gifts benefits that we offer. It really helps associates choose which of our initiatives really impact causes that matter to them and enables them to get involved. I think if we look at the interpersonal level between teams at our organization, that's really where that dual reporting model comes in. So a lot of companies have ESG steering committees, but I think the dual reporting model is a nice build on that, because so often the VPs or the SVPs that are serving on our ESG steering committees also have people on their teams working on individual goals within our ESG strategy. And those managers, senior managers, are who is dual reporting into my team to make sure that they have the tools and resources needed to create impact in their respective pyramids. And so the dual reporting really helps facilitate a sense of collaboration between the ESG team and the broader enterprise in a way that may not happen if those conduits weren't there. I think organizationally, we cast the vision through the way that we set goals and the way that we leverage the foundation, for instance, to build enterprise level partnerships that all business units can plug into. So we definitely have a sense of community at the company or the organizational level. And then I think those last two levels that we talked about, community and then societal, which can also be called public policy, are really where we're starting to get stronger as a company. So at the community level, we really have focused in recent years on building out organizational partnerships that allow our brand partners or our business vendors and suppliers to get involved in some of the same causes that we care about at Neiman Marcus Group. A great example of that is our partnership with supplier leadership on climate transition. So at Neiman Marcus Group in recent years, we've taken the steps that a lot of large companies have to measure our scope 1, 2, and 3 emissions, set science-based targets, implement abatement plans, and disclose to CDP. But we know that not all of our brand partners and suppliers have taken that action yet. And so we are part of a consortium of major multinational corporations that contribute to this program called Supplier Leadership on Climate Transition. And we all nominate our suppliers to enroll in courses that meet them where they are in their climate journey, regardless of if it's measuring emissions or disclosing to CDP. And so we've been able to support a lot of top luxury brands in kickstarting their climate journey, but we've also been able to help some go deeper. And so I'm really proud that we think about the community aspect and not just how to create change within our own associates or within our own organization, but we also think about how to bring the broader industry along. And then when we think about that last level, I think about public policy, but I also think about cultural change. How do we partner with cultural leaders and storytellers to make sustainability the norm and aspirational part of the luxury fashion conversation? And so I think the policy and the culture perspective are maybe two aspects that you'll see come up as we think about crafting our 2030 strategy.
Okay, so I have about 1,000 questions as you go through all that, but we're not going to have time for them all. So I'm going to start with a couple. With all of that, all of what you just explained and outlined, all the work that you're doing, how, if we rewind, how did it get not how did it get started, but what does it take to do that for other organizations, right? Was it prompted by leadership from the top? Did you kind of bring it when you came in? Was it just always there? How did you corral it all for an organization who's like, Allie, that's so much work that you're doing. I know we couldn't possibly do all that. What did it take to get to this point that you're at today?
Yeah, I think it's a multi-pronged response. We definitely had support from our board of directors and investors. They were who asked our CEO to establish an ESG function in the first place because they were members of something called the United Nations Principles for Responsible Investing, or UNPRI. So I always tell people who are starting ESG functions at a company, if you have public investors, check and see if they're members of the UNPRI, because if they are, that means that they've made public commitments to integrate ESG into their investment holdings, and engage with companies that they may own. So that was definitely a driver in when I came to the company about 3 years ago. And when I started, I think I just did a lot of listening, and figuring out what was important to the business, what challenges they had, what successes they already had. I think people overlook that step and they come into an organization and immediately see where a company may not measure up to external ESG standards, but they don't take the time to understand the company's individual context and what matters to them. So I think the listening was a really important part in building trust, because that trust was really crucial to getting the dual reporting model across the finish line.
Yeah. When
I
we're
also think, Derek, that now that I think about it, having the sustainability, belonging, and philanthropy functions centralized on one team from the get-go has been really helpful. Sometimes at other companies, it may sit in different places. And when we were deciding how to build up this function at Neiman Marcus Group, we were really intentional about putting it all in one place. And I will tell you that having the foundation sit next to sustainability and belonging has really allowed us to scale change more quickly, because we not only have service purchase dollars, but we also have philanthropic dollars that can catalyze constantly new partnerships that enable our work.
That's great. That'll be helpful for others. And to latch onto that, this idea of partnerships, I think when I hear you talking about scaling through partnership, it sounds like partnership is, the first thing that might come to mind is your retail partners or your, but I feel like it's internal and external partners. Is that fair to say? Is it across the board? Maybe expand
Absolutely.
on that a little bit.
Yes, associates are definitely one of our key stakeholders, along with our brand partners, so our suppliers, regulators, our customers. We definitely care about making sure we're meeting all of their needs.
Are your brand partners, does it feel like is it a push? Is it a pull? How receptive are they to this, the trainings and things that you offer? It sounds like you've had an impact on their journeys, but do you get a sense that you're really having to push this onto them, or do they come to you kind of saying, hey, we could really use some help. We're ready for this. This is something that we want to do as well. And are more and more brand partners coming to you already aligned with this and already making great progress on their own? How far have we come in the industry, in the apparel and retail industry?
I would say it's a mix. I mean, for instance, over 45% of our brand partners already have science-based targets or SBTI commitments.
That's a good number.
It's a pretty strong baseline if you think about it.
Yep.
But then we have plenty who have never even started measuring their emissions before. And that's where our partnerships like supplier leadership on climate transition come in, and we're able to bring them along. We're not just placing a requirement on a brand and saying, hey, as a supplier to Neiman Marcus Group, you have to report your emissions. We actually enable them and come alongside them as partners and helping give them the resources to make that happen, especially for a lot of our smaller luxury brands who may not have sustainability teams in place. This enables them to enroll, for instance, someone from their facilities team or someone from their communications team to learn more about what it takes to conduct a scope 1 and 2 footprint and get started on their journey so that they can advocate for a sustainability team in the future. But for our more advanced brand partners, they absolutely give us ideas. They come to us and ask questions, for instance, about which of our stores are operating on renewable electricity, because the spaces that they lease from us factor into their own climate targets. And so all of a sudden, our goal to procure 100% renewable electricity factors into our merchants' negotiations for leased spaces with top brands, positioning Neiman Marcus Group well as the retailer of choice.
Allie, I'm going to go off script here a little bit because I worked on the brand side and the group side with multiple stores. And that was always something that I found was challenging, is sourcing renewable energy, switching energy sources at stores that you may not own. They might be in malls, et cetera. How are you making progress there, and how are you getting around that? What does it take to make progress in that space?
Yeah, in our FY23 report, we said that we currently consume about 57% renewable electricity out of our total consumption. And I would say our primary instrument to date has been REC, so renewable energy credits, that enable us to claim the electricity generated from projects that are happening nearby our stores. Because, as you mentioned, a lot of our stores are leased spaces from landlords and in shared buildings. Sometimes having those on-site renewable electricity options can become a little bit more difficult. I think once we start to reach 100% renewable electricity through RECs or EACs, our hope is that we will be able to transition over time to more impactful, more direct procurement instruments, including things like VPPAs or PPAs.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you. What about, I mean, that was a challenge I had. What are some of the challenges maybe that you've had in building all of this out and getting through all this?
I think just time and money, right? I mean,
yep.
I think there is no shortage of interest and enthusiasm and passion for this space, both from our associates and our leaders, as well as our key stakeholders outside the company. I think there are too many good opportunities to pursue, which is a great problem to have.
So you've got to prioritize and decide which ones you're going to lean in on. And what tools have you used to really narrow in and make sure that you're not trying to tackle everything all at once and maybe tackle the things that may or may not matter as much as others?
It's a great question. I think that it all comes down to the materiality assessment that we performed with our key stakeholders at the outset of our journey. When we were first starting to construct our goals and our strategy, we took the time not only to conduct desktop research on what themes were most common across different ESG ratings and rankings frameworks, but we also surveyed all of our key stakeholders, from our investors and board to our associates to our customers and brand partners, and really asked them what issues they thought were most impactful both to our business and to the society within which we operate. And so the data from that assessment has really formed the backbone and allowed us to be strategic in what we say yes and no to taking on as a team.
So going back to the partnerships, I want to ask if you have any, success stories, sort of what pops to mind in terms of, partnerships really working, or maybe something that was really unique that you didn't expect, that just, that really helped amplify this idea that partnerships are really what help you scale sustainability progress. Anything come to mind?
I think I'm really proud of our partnership with the Humane Society of the United States. It was a little bit of an unexpected one because when you think of the luxury customer, I think fur is a common material that people think about and associate as luxury. Mm-hmm. But early on in our journey, Neiman Marcus Group made the really brave decision to issue its first animal welfare policy in partnership with the Humane Society and exit fur, which was almost a $50 million line of business for us.
Wow.
Annually.
Yeah.
And I think in pursuing that partnership, we spent a lot of time thinking about not just what we were taking away from our assortment, but what we would be replacing it with or introducing our customers to as the new luxury. And around that time is when we launched the Fashion for Change and Conscious Curation edits. And like I said, today, 9% of our company sales come from sustainable and ethical products in these edits. So we may have walked away from a certain line of business, but we've more than made up for that revenue by focusing on something really great that has also attracted a new customer to Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman. But that was really done through the vision and partnership with the Humane Society of the United States.
That's impressive to make that bold decision. And that's what really drives sustainability forward as well, is just bold, strong decisions that sometimes just takes being brave and going out there sort of on your own sometimes. You mentioned you've got this data in terms of what percent of sales are coming from these curated collections. Talk to me about the customer as a partner. How are you able to bring them along? Do they even know they're coming along on this journey with you, or is it just great product at the right product mix? Or how are you engaging them and really telling them that, hey, you're a part of this program with us?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're being really intentional about educating the customer about opportunities to shop in line with their values at Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman, no matter what those values are. So the edits that I've mentioned online give the customer the ability to filter for products based on whether it's made with sustainable materials that are upcycled or vegan or recycled. It gives them the opportunity to filter for products that are responsibly manufactured, for instance, with safer chemicals or in factories that empower women. It gives them the ability to filter for products that give back to the community through certified benefit corporation status, through 1% for the planet, through one-to-one business models where when you buy one, they give one. It allows them to filter for products from diverse-owned brands, so Black-owned, Hispanic-owned, Asian-owned brands. And then it also offers them the ability to filter for products that are either pre-owned in nature or that advance transparency, either because they have a digital product passport on them or the brand discloses their factory list on Open Supply Hub. So we're really taking the time to allow the customer to filter based on values that matter for them. We clearly outline the criteria and the certifications that make all of these claims true on our website so that if a customer wants to become more informed, they can. And I think what I'm really proud of is how we are thinking about labeling this across the omni-channel environment. So currently, when you go to neimanmarcus.com or bergdorfgoodman.com, no matter where you are on the site, there is a badge on these products that says Fashion for Change or Conscious Curation, that lets you know that there's something different about that product. So even the customers who aren't conscious consumers and going straight to that edit because they know they want a product that aligns with their values, even the customer who may just happen to be on a landing page and see that badge can click through and discover more about the special attributes of the products that we carry. And in a few months from now, we're also going to be adding even more detail into the product description page. So when you go and click through the different sub-levels of the item page, you'll be able to understand what the certification is and why it's important to us.
That's great. And I think you're painting a picture, sort of a vision for this next question that I'm going to ask you in terms of, we've got this question that we always ask if you had a magic wand, right? If you could just wave a magic wand, make it all happen, change the industry overnight, what would that look like? How would things, what would tomorrow look like if you had your way with this magic wand?
I think there would be more people doing this work. I think more brands and retailers would already have sustainability or ESG teams in place to make a really concerted effort on all the issues that we're talking about today.
Yeah, it definitely takes a village for sure. I want to know, it feels like you are you optimistic about this space, about sustainability and ESG in the space that you're working?
I definitely think I am optimistic. I personally just love what I get to work on every day. I feel that Neiman Marcus Group has chosen to take a leadership stance in the industry and has made some meaningful investments across sustainability, belonging, and philanthropy. And I think as we have built more of these partnerships that we've talked about, where we're engaging brands and coming along on that journey with us, people have been really excited and receptive. So I do feel good about the future of the industry. I think we need to get there faster than we're going right now, but I do think that we're headed in the right direction and that there's momentum there.
All right. Well, let's tidy it up here for listeners. Last few questions here. What are some takeaways that you want the audience to know, whether they're in the industry? I mean, they're part of your value chain. They're a customer. They're a supplier. They're a brand partner. What are some takeaways that you really want to leave with people in terms of how to scale meaningful progress, especially through partnerships?
Well, at the most basic level, I would say go look up the socio-ecological model for change, right? And apply it to any project that you're working on. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. You can say, how am I informing and equipping individuals to support this project? How am I equipping interpersonal interactions between teams at my organizations to scale this change? How am I engaging my industry? And how am I making sure that things like public policy and pop culture are reinforcing the change that I'm seeking to create with this project? So at the most basic level, I think that that's a really important one. I would also encourage change makers to be connecting with their company's foundation and leveraging philanthropic funding to create catalytic impact, if that's not something that they're doing already. And then lastly, I would say be forward thinking and connecting with your government affairs team and your marketing teams on the important role of public policy and cultural change in supporting the programs that your team is leading.
I love that. you all are you're tackling so much, and we covered a lot here in terms of what it's going to take. Are there other topics? What topic would you like to see addressed in conversations like this? Is there something that you think needs to be spoken more about? I mean, you're tackling belonging and ESG and sort of all of it, but if you had to kind of pull one topic to the surface that you said, hey, if you're in this space, make sure you're learning more about this particular topic, what might it be?
The policy piece, for sure.
Policy piece, yeah.
Corporate political responsibility.
That's great. Any last advice you want to leave with any others? Maybe it's people getting into this space, or they're early in their journey at their organization, or they've been doing it for a long time. Any advice you want to leave with us?
I think 2 pieces of advice. I would just say stay curious. This is such a quickly evolving space, and understanding how your work impacts other people or how they can help champion it is just so important. So building those authentic relationships, continuing to ask good questions is so important. I would also say ESG issues are business issues. So when I think about the resources that I look to equip change or for inspiration, they're not sustainability specific publications. It's things like Harvard Business Review or Wall Street Journal. And I think that practitioners that don't shy away from the business side of things, from topics like finance or corporate law, will really be able to scale change more quickly.
That's great advice. That's a good reminder. Allie, thank you so much. We'll put all the links here to all the things that you recommended, talked about, referred to. I know we'll put links to your current reports, future reports, the website, anywhere else people should go to learn about the work that you're doing at Neiman Marcus Group besides the website.
No, I think that I would definitely encourage everyone to check out Neiman Marcus's Fashion for Change edit or Bergdorf Goodman's Conscious Curation edit. You can also catch my team at the Sustainable Fashion Forum in Austin in April.
All right. Well, we'll see you there in theory, perhaps. But thank you, Allie. I know you're so busy, so thank you for making time to be on the show today. And we'll catch you later to keep following up with all the great work you all are doing over there.
Thank you for the interesting conversation, Derek.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for checking out our show today. This show was produced by the team at thinkPARALLAX, a sustainability and communications agency with 2 decades of experience working with companies at every stage of the sustainability journey. We are experts at assessing where a company is today, defining a North Star, and developing a roadmap to get there. If your team needs sustainability guidance or training, or you have a recommendation for a guest or a topic on the show, visit us at thinkparallax.com. We'd love to hear from you.